Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. This show is going to be dedicated in the memory of Olivia Newton-John, who passed away this week. I'm a big fan of Grease. I got to be honest about that. We got security here, but apparently they didn't do a great job because the head of the studio is in here. Nick Lavallee. Nick, we've had some... Okay, all right, we're going to do this. That's fine, but
Sure.
Nick, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Even with all the riffs going on between us, that's okay. But where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I gotta say, Dan,
Okay.
I'm excited to be here because out of all the shows on Merrimack TV, you're definitely in like my top 100.
Okay, hey, all right.
Yeah,
I was hoping
cool.
for like top 5, but I'll take it.
It's up there.
Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I am from Manchester, New Hampshire, the wrong side of Webster Street, and don't hold that against me. But that's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. So
Awesome. Now, but you went to Merrimack High, right? Is that
I
correct?
didn't.
Oh, you did
I
not?
didn't. No, I went to Manchester Central, but I have had nearly a 20-year career here in Merrimack. And aside from being a town employee for nearly that long, I've also done some work with the Merrimack School District as well.
Okay.
So I think I'm maybe an honorary resident at this point.
Okay.
I've just been here so long. So, yeah.
Awesome. I didn't know. So you went to Central. When did
did.
you graduate?
97.
97.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Now, what are 3 things that everybody should know about you?
Well, everyone should know that I'm definitely an obsessive creative. Just, aside from having this career in community media, I'm just an obsessive creative. I've pursued my creative interests. I play in a band. I've played in bands. I was a stand-up comedian. I've always kind of produced content, even predating YouTube and stuff.
Okay.
So I worked in media production. That's kind of what led me into this career here. Working in radio, and I'm 7 years sober. I haven't had alcohol since November 2015, which is obviously a very
That's
personal
awesome.
choice. But
Yeah.
I do like to say that whenever I can. So if there's anyone who's ever thinking about cutting back or quitting entirely, I like putting that out in the universe just because it totally changed my trajectory, and there's only good that has come from it, which leads me to the and it's just it's forced me to live a more active lifestyle.
Okay.
So just living healthy and stuff. So then the third thing is I'm a sucker for all things retro, vintage. The nostalgia bug hits me hard. So, I'm into classic games. I love going up to Fun Spot. And at my house, I've kind of amassed this, this collection of all things vintage. Arcade machines, toys, movies, you name it.
Are you a big fan like the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
80s, 90s, for sure. That's my sweet spot,
Awesome.
Because I think I'm I was born in 79, so it's like I was exposed to just as much 80s stuff and being coherent as I was, 90s stuff in my formative years as a teenager. So it's really 80s, all 80s, 90s, early 2000s too, but
Very cool.
Love it.
I think I'm the same. You know what I was listening to before I got here?
What's that?
Limp Bizkit.
Okay. I just finished the Woodstock 99
Oh my
documentary.
God, I do.
Yeah.
That's a great topic because that's why I've been obsessed with. I watched the Netflix documentary.
Same. I watched the HBO one, and then I also watched the Netflix one.
Okay, so I remember I was 15 at the time. I was a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Or no, I was only 14 probably when it happened. But I remember it being. I didn't know it was like that crazy, of how bad things happened at Woodstock '99.
Yeah.
Train wreck. I think that's what they called it on Netflix.
Yeah, and it also, I think it's made a lot of festivals, present day festivals, significantly better. I mean, I love live music, and I've gone to a bunch of music festivals myself, and I went to Lollapalooza in '95. But I remember going to Lollapalooza, there was water. It was at venues that were equipped for that sort of thing, whereas Woodstock was really, Woodstock 99. Yeah.
I mean, it was on concrete. Now I've been arguing with some people. I go, you look at Woodstock '69, right? It's very like
Yeah.
peaceful music. They had their issues too, but it's like Woodstock '99. It's like music had changed, and it was like punch you in the face type music.
Also the
pump up music is what I call it.
The audience, that particular audience they were catering to was not the Woodstock '69 audience, and also Woodstock '94 was kind of the shared generational thing, right?
Yeah.
So like if you look at the '94 lineup, that's when that was the summer that Green Day broke.
Dookie, yeah.
And Woodstock '94 was kind of like parents, it was kind of like older boomers taking their younger Gen X children and having this shared experience. So it was really like kind of all ages having a shared experience. Whereas '99 was just like, you look at the lineup, it was heavier music, mostly heavier music, at least the headliners, and charging a crazy amount of money for a bottle of water when you've got the attendees just exposed to sun all day on concrete. Of course.
So many bad ideas.
Yeah. So it was it was an interesting documentary for sure. And I don't remember too much about '99 when it happened. Maybe I didn't necessarily.
I remember hearing like the news the next day. They said they had all these riots and all this stuff, but I never really thought about too much. Till I watched the documentary, I was like, oh, this was worse than I thought.
Well, yeah, in the age of social media, if that were to happen now, it'd be documented in real time by the second.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I did look at it. I'm like, all right, so these people have been there all day, and Saturday night you're going to do Limp Bizkit into Rage Against the Machine into Metallica. That's a kind of crazy concert in itself. But yeah, I definitely recommend it if anybody hasn't seen it yet. But now sticking with the theme of the show, which is Let Freedom Ring, and this question means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What does it mean to you to be an American?
Well, I didn't have much of a choice. I was born here. But aside from that, the thing that I value most about being an American is our First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And my job here and having a nearly 20-year career in community media is you have to be an advocate of free speech. We welcome the reason how this studio exists. It's to do two things. Well, the studio itself is to give residents like yourself, Dan, the right to express yourself on cable TV. And then second to that is what we do. One of our objectives is to keep residents informed on what their elected or volunteer officials, the decisions that they're making in our conference rooms here. So, I'd say that's what I value most about being an American is the right to express ourselves.
All right, I like that answer. We get a lot of different answers because it does mean so many different things to so many different people.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about Merrimack TV here. Obviously, what is your official job title again? Because I always just say it's Nick, the head of the studio.
Sure. And I think depending on what we do, sometimes the title kind of just applies to different things. I always tell my guys here, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades when you're working in community TV, because a lot of our departments, even throughout the state, it's minimal staff. Here we only have there's just 3 of us on staff. We cover a lot. My official title is I'm the Town of Merrimack, New Hampshire's Media Services Coordinator. So I oversee the town's media division, and we branded it as Merrimack TV just to give it just so it's easily identifiable. And when I had first started with the town, the channels were just a series of acronyms, MCTV. Well, there's MCTVs everywhere. I wanted it to be very easily identifiable. We are Merrimack TV, and we serve the residents of Merrimack.
Awesome. Now, how long has this studio existed?
So the channels themselves have been in existence since the late 90s, early 2000s. We've had a couple different homes. We were at Town Hall. Originally, we were in the basement of the West Wing. Real small studio. Then in 2004, the studio was moved from Town Hall to the high school. We were in the high school for about 6 or 7 years. And then when the state had built the court here in the Town Hall complex, the town manager at the time wanted to bring the media division back to town hall, and we would, using the town's media divisions and the cable franchise fees, we were able to renovate the second floor of the West Wing here and move the media division over. So our offices are here, the studio is here, and we have the conference room where most of our board and committee meetings take place. And moving the media division back to town hall made a whole lot of sense because now everything is centrally located. We're able to get a lot more work done having just one place where most of the things that we cover happen.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I got to ask this because I had a totally different idea. You're a pretty popular guy. People know who you are.
Sure.
If you say the name Nick Lavallee, it comes up. And I was always told, not by Justin or Colin or anything like that, they're like, yeah, Nick starred this when he was in high school and he went to Merrimack High. That was literally my brain. So I was wrong, which I apologize.
Well, I think when I had started here, I was pretty young. When I had started working in community TV, I was fairly young. I think when I was hired as the department head, I may have been one of the youngest department heads in community TV in the Northeast.
Okay.
And, I looked, when I was, 25 years old, I think I looked like I was 17. I remember being at the when our offices were at the high school, I remember being stopped a couple times saying, what class are you supposed to be in?
Okay. So that's maybe how that got started.
I think so. I am in one of the Merrimack High School yearbooks.
Okay.
I forget which year. It's probably 2004.
Yeah.
There's a yearbook photo. I'm holding a video camera. We were doing something for the channel with after-school volunteer students. I'm holding a video camera, and the caption is, videography students documenting a moment in Merrimack High School. Okay. And it's like, I was not a student.
Yeah.
And I actually taught the video production classes for a couple weeks as a long-term sub. So maybe that's where, I don't know. That's funny though.
It's just that was in my head because that's what was told to me. But so how did you get involved in doing this?
So again, when I was in high school and when I was in college, I worked in radio. I had developed a background in radio and video production. And I found myself in this opportunity to work under the former director of community communications. And I was hired as the media coordinator in the early 2000s. And then I left and worked in a different community media center because, again, I really kind of fell in love with what community media is and also what it could be because, media, especially how we consume media, always evolves. It's always changing. So I was asked to come back as a department head for the town in October of 2004.
Okay.
So I've been the department head here since 2004. And since then, again, we said this at the top of the show, what I love most about community media is giving folks, residents, nonprofit groups, a place to exercise their right to free speech, and also just the exchange of ideas that we see from residents and nonprofit groups that serve Merrimack. And I really do feel that that folks like yourself, Dan, and nonprofit groups that serve the town have this outlet to kind of exchange those ideas and use your voice and then also stay informed with what your community is doing by listening to those elected officials at those meetings. I think engaging yourself and just kind of being an active citizen is just so important, and that's why I really appreciate residents when they do shows that are so Merrimack centric. We have some nonprofit groups that have tape shows in here, whether it's regular or irregular. We see the Rotary Club does a show here. Lions Club has done a show here. And I mean, just getting information out and exchanging ideas, I think, is such a valuable thing. And I'm proud to be a board member on the New Hampshire Coalition for Community Media, which kind of ties all of our access centers together. And I've been a board member now for, I guess I'm on my third year. So I'm on my third year of being a board member, and we are a station member of that as well.
Because is there a lot of so being on that board, is there a lot of different, is like every town and city doing this?
So not every town and city has, what's traditionally known as PEG TV, Public Education and Government Television. I like just saying community media.
Yeah.
There are towns without it. I think Merrimack is fortunate to have this department and these resources. And fortunately, we have neighboring communities that have it as well. Bedford TV, Bill Jennings and Colleen Richardson do a fantastic job in Bedford. And Pete Johnson runs Nashua ETV. Both of these facilities are very similar. Bedford particularly is very similar to ours, where it's run by a municipality. And they offer the 3 different channels, and they cover all their meetings the same way that we do, and they offer studio time to residents. A lot of communities in New Hampshire, fortunately, have these resources in their towns and cities. There's a number of them. But each one is unique. Each one's administered a little differently. Each one kind of has to find their niche, For the longest time, I feel like the demand and what was being asked of Merrimack TV was to document, elected town officials, volunteer boards and committees, to keep the public informed. I think our niche was mostly that. We were kind of like the C-SPAN of Merrimack. Yeah. So that was the bulk of our role here, was to do that. And we always offered a way for folks to tape their own shows. I think that through the course of the pandemic, what Merrimack TV offers has significantly, I don't want to say changed, because we do the same things we did pre-pandemic, but we've kind of added value to the department. We cover a lot of sports for Merrimack High School now.
Yeah, you guys were really working hard during that when people couldn't go to the games.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we saw a need. We saw a need when when the school district had decided to have, sports, but they wanted to have, COVID precautions, so there was less attendees that were allowed to go to the games. We kind of stepped it up, and we covered all of the Tomahawks varsity football home games. We had them live, not only on our channel, but they were also live streaming in HD on our website. And then we continued that. We continued that in the winter sports that year, so we covered all of the Tomahawks home girls and boys varsity basketball games. I think we threw in a couple JV games as well. And what's great about that is we expanded not only on the website or the cable channels on the website, but we're also accessible on streaming devices. So if you were a grandparent, or if you're aunt and uncle or a friend, or you attended Merrimack High School, and wherever you were in the country, you could pull up an app on your streaming device and you could watch these games live. And we were doing things like shout outs and through our social media feeds. So we grew quite a bit through the course of the pandemic, not only in what was being asked of us, but just the overall interest. People became interested in community TV here in Merrimack, and thankfully, it's odd to say that, thankfully due to the pandemic, but it put some more ears and eyes on what we do, who we are, what we offer, and to me, that's good for not just Merrimack TV, but good for community media across the state. And I just hope that as folks, you and I are roughly the same age. And as we get older, our interests are going to change, especially those who have families, who have kids that are in the school district. I just hope more people our age start becoming involved and kind of paying attention. Hey, what's happening in my town? And again, fortunately here in Merrimack, you could just turn to channel 20 or HD 1071, or now on the app, or on merrimacktv.com, and you can watch all this content either being created by residents or the meetings that we cover. It's just such a great way to get involved, especially with print media kind of going away. How do you find out about what's happening in your community? I was talking to Justin, our assistant media services coordinator, earlier. I said, man, when I do Dan's show, I really want to stress that, community TV channels, we're not just, boring board and committee meetings. We're really a primary source of information. So if you want to know what's going on in town, turn on your community TV channel, go to their social media page. you're gonna be informed. So.
No, and that's a big service that you guys do for it.
Yeah.
So, I gotta say, during the pandemic, I always would take my nephew to the football games.
Right.
I obviously couldn't really do that. It was nice to have them on TV. Shout out to Dave Carter, who was doing some of the play-by-play, and I was like, oh man, this is pretty wild. So.
You know, what was so validating during that, it was everyone who watched, everyone who participates. When I say participates in Merrimack TV, you don't have to just have a show to participate. If you watch, you're participating in community media. And the amount of people that, either thanked us for covering, sports or the concerts as well, just made me and my staff feel so good, and we were, so the thank yous we got were enough, but we were validated with an award from the Alliance for Community Media Northeast Region for our sports coverage that fall, for the fall 2020 sports. So we share those accolades with all of our play-by-play volunteers. Like you said, Dave Carter, Ralph Carpentier, Brian Gagnon does basketball, Andy Berkeley, who does the on-field announcing for the Tomahawks football, he did play-by-play for our hockey games as well. So, we had great volunteers who stepped up that were experienced, and we're all so grateful for that.
Yeah, no, that was some awesome stuff, and that definitely, like I said, the sports definitely probably starts to bring the community together too, because that's.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a combination of our sports and the coverage, and also covering the concerts that Merrimack High School did. I mean, we got to cover Patricia Cunningham's last 2 years as a band director at the high school. And now we have those her last concerts documented, which when she was retiring, there were a lot of people at her final concert, and there were just a lot of people that had Patricia Cunningham as a music teacher, that are now band instructors themselves who were at that final concert. So someone who had been with the town and served the town for as long as she did, having those last few concerts documented, I think is really important. We have great conversations with John and Chuck from the Merrimack Historical Society, who also has a show on the channel now, another nonprofit group that utilizes these resources. And I was telling them the other day, I said, Merrimack TV, we're making history. We document town history as well, and they agreed. So, I think now that we're doing more sports and community event coverage and short form Merrimack moment pieces, things like that, I think, whether it's 5 years from now or 50 years from now, you're going to have kind of a snapshot on what the town of Merrimack was like. So we're not just, keeping residents informed. We're not just giving residents a place to, express themselves. We're documenting town history.
And that's something that could go to the Historical Society, I'd have to imagine, where you could take some of that film and...
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That'd be a good partnership, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, and that's really, aside from the technological advances, we want to stay relevant with what we do. So that's why we're not just cable TV. It's sort of, I don't want to say it's troublesome, but it's when people say, oh, I'll just watch it on Merrimack Cable. It's like, we're kind of... we're in the digital age, and we're not just cable TV. We are streaming. We have you can watch our channels 24/7 on our website. But we are really just we're evolving, and we want to be kind of looked at. We want to maintain relevancy in what we do, and it's not just about the technological advances or how people can watch us, but it's also just about kind of growing the program and building community partnerships. So we're trying to evolve our community partnerships, strengthen those community partnerships with residents, nonprofit groups, and then also our ties with the Merrimack School District. So, strong partnerships with Merrimack High School Athletics and Music Department. And towards the end of last school year, we got acquainted with an administrator from Merrimack Middle School.
Okay.
Who started an after-school program to teach kids how to produce content. So we actually donated a couple of our older computers to them. And I think we're going to see middle schoolers creating content for Merrimack TV moving forward.
That's awesome. And they may have the next Nick or Justin.
They might, because our assistant media services coordinator, Justin, says he did go to Merrimack High School, and he was one of my first student volunteers when I had first started working for the town. So,
because I do want to transition to this.
Sure.
You got a great staff. You got Colin and Justin.
Best in the biz.
What's it like working with them?
Every day it's a joy to come to work and work with these guys. I often say that, how do I want to express this? No 2 days are alike here, right? These guys make it easy, and not just for myself, but also any resident who wants to use our services. Colin's great. Colin produces the Merrimack Moments segments, and that people seem to love. If there's anything people say, oh, what should I watch on Merrimack TV? Go to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Merrimack TV. Take a look at the playlist, Your Local News, and then there's two of them. One's Merrimack Moments, one's Merrimack in Motion. Merrimack in Motion kind of breaks down one or two things that happened at a board or committee meeting that week. Merrimack Moment puts a spotlight on the people, places, and events that make our town special. Start there. Watch those Merrimack Moments. Colin has a heavy hand in producing those. He definitely writes, shoots, and edits them. Narrates them, I should say. And that's a good place to start. Colin has a background in journalism, and he's excellent at what he does. And Justin assists our residents in taping these shows. So Justin's kind of behind the scenes right now. I know, we get so many comments about just how professional, kind, and thorough Justin is. I love working with these guys. I say I have the best team in the biz. I've always had qualified, professional, fantastic employees that, started here, and now a number of them are running access centers in different parts of this state, which is fantastic. And we all stay connected. And I hope Colin and Justin don't go anywhere. I'd like them to stick around for a long time to come. I'm just lucky to have such a great staff.
No, and I love working with them too. Like, Justin is amazing.
Yes.
He really is amazing. Watching the evolution of Colin, because when I first came in, Colin, there would be times like Justin can be here and Colin's, figuring stuff out, but then you've seen him evolve into he's becoming what Justin is.
Yes.
It's just a cool thing to see.
Well, as a leader or as a manager, it's you wanna play to someone's strengths, and you always want to take what might seem to be a weakness. You want to give them the tools and the experience that they need to see them grow. And a big part of what we do is like I said it earlier at the top of the show, you do have to be a jack of all trades. You have to know just enough about everything, because you never know. And especially throughout the course of the pandemic, if any one of us were out, only being a staff of 3, it's like you might have to fill a role that's usually, taken care of by that other person. So you kind of have to know how to run all this different gear. And, Colin has progressed quite a bit, and we're so lucky. He's full-time now. He was part-time up until last month, so now he's full-time, and which also says, a lot for how we've progressed throughout the course of the pandemic. There was a need for it, for sure.
All right, I do want to get in the fan questions, because you have a couple here.
Okay.
First, from Mike Campbell.
Sure.
Do you have any thoughts on Dennis Eggersley retiring from the booth?
I don't have any thoughts on that.
Okay.
I don't have any thoughts.
Are you a baseball
No,
guy?
It's funny. I was just talking to a vendor this morning. I was talking to Charles Page from Telview, which I don't know if that means anything to you, but I was talking to him, and he started talking about baseball. And there was a time in my life when I did pay attention to baseball, but I just kind of got sidelined by my creative pursuits. I mean, for quite a while, it was like my weekends, Friday night to Monday morning, basically, was just consumed with my life outside of here, and there was kind of no room to even definitely not pay attention to sports. So I kind of fell off baseball.
No, no worries.
But I did know Chris Carpentier because this vendor was a Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
So I knew Chris Carpentier was from Raymond, New Hampshire, and he went to Trinity. He went to Manchester. So and he's got 2 World Series rings. So that I do know.
Big picture for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Now, Justin has a few questions here.
Okay.
He wants to know, and he got these in late.
Okay.
As I was leaving, I said, "Oh, all right, Justin has."
I didn't know about this, but okay.
He wants to know who's been the most famous person you had a chance to meet.
There's been quite a few. Most famous, there's 2, and I guess you'd have to tell me who's the most famous because I struggle with it. I've met Bieber and Scarlett Johansson.
Oh,
I got a photo. Sorry to disappoint. I got a photo with Bieber. No photo with Scarlett. Spent more time with her, but who's more famous than those 2?
I would probably say. I'd probably say Justin Bieber.
I would too, because everyone, whether you're 8 or 80, you know Justin Bieber's a pop star.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson, great actress, but you just kind of know her. Oh, I think she's an actress, but anyone 88 to 80 would probably say, oh yeah, Bieber.
See, my thing is like if you're not sports or a wrestler, I'm like,
Yeah.
We're in Cooperstown for David Ortiz's induction. Read the sign, said Pete Rose is doing autographs, and I go, what? So I look in and I go, oh my God, that is Pete Rose. The one guy that can't get in the Hall of Fame is at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But so I just run outside. I'm freaking out. I'm like, I told my dad, my brother, my other brother, I said, I'm going in there to get a picture with Pete Rose. Whoever wants to come with me now. So I walk up I go, how much? They go, 75. I go, just take it.
I guess the other celebrity that I did get a photo with, and I do have to print the photo and put it in my office just because I'm such a huge fan, was Michael J. Fox. I met Michael J. Fox. I got a photo with him.
That's bigger than the 2 you said.
You think so? Yeah,
yes.
he's not iconic.
He's in one of the most iconic franchises of all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox is a much bigger deal than.
Maybe I don't think. I mean, obviously he's like famous and stuff. To me, it's like Bieber and Scarlett Johansson.
He was
Alex P. Keaton and Marty McFly.
Like, here's the thing.
Don't you feel like Michael J. Fox is just your friend though?
Yeah.
Because you've seen him and just think, I mean, I love Back to the Future. I'm such a giant Back to the Future fan.
That's going to live forever. One day, we're all going to die. Scarlett Johansson and Justin Bieber, they're going to die, and people forget about them. They're not going to forget about Back to the Future.
It's Michael
J. Fox, for sure. He has one other question. I want to make sure I'm saying this right, so I know he's already laughing in the back.
Sure.
How come Nikki get the Puschetti? Puschetti? Yeah. I think this is an inside joke, obviously.
I think it is too. I don't know how to answer that one. How did Nikki get the Puschetti? I got to think about that.
Yeah.
How did Nikki get the Puschetti?
I'm missing something.
I'd say either way, the Puschetti is probably pretty good.
Okay.
I'd say it's pretty good.
I'll take your word for it.
Sure.
I saw it come through. I was like, well, I got to ask this, obviously. But all right, top fives.
Yeah.
One of my favorite We're going into some of my favorite segments on the show here.
Great.
Do you have top 5 favorite movies?
Top 5 favorite movies. What's funny is I kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna mix it up for you because I could easily say, my top 5 favorite movies are the Holy Trilogies. We were just talking about it. Back to the Future, original Star Wars, Karate Kid. I could easily just go that route. But I was like, well, Dan's here. He likes movies. Maybe we could chat. I just went top 5 Tom Hanks movies.
Oh, wow. Yeah. There's definitely.
Number 5, Catch Me If You Can. It's got Leo and Tom, 2 fantastic actors. I'd like to say, like we were talking about Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox, I feel like he's my friend. Yeah. Right? Like, not in a creepy fan way. It's just like he's always been there. It's Michael J. Fox. But
I got to say, Tom Hanks, one thing I just want to throw in there. Man, when he was doing Bosom Buddies, I had no idea this guy was going to become one of the best actors of all time.
Right, sure.
No idea. Yeah. The other guy, I don't even remember his name. Nothing ever happened.
Right.
With him,
so Catch Me If You Can. Leo, Tom Hanks, you can't beat it. Number 4, That Thing You Do. Great music. Adam Schlesinger, the late Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne, and Mike Viola wrote that song, wrote a couple other songs for that movie, and it's like you hear that song 17 times during the movie, you never get sick of it, which I think Just shows how awesome of a pop songwriter Adam was. Love that thing to do. Third is Castaway.
Ooh, yes.
Which I've watched Castaway. You know, it came out, I was like early 20s. Watching Castaway as a somewhat fully realized adult is so different. So I love going back to Castaway and just the different subtleties and subtext in that movie. You can watch it. I feel like you can watch it a dozen times and just walk away from it feeling differently. And it's just Tom primarily, so
that movie just broke my heart when he
just
gets
such
back
a good
and,
performance. Yeah,
you know, the woman he's in love with has moved on, obviously.
yes.
But
when someone says that, because I rewatched it a couple years ago, and it's like I watched it, and yes, I felt that way. Like I felt brokenhearted for him, but at the same time, he put himself on that island.
yeah,
You know, he was so consumed in his work and his job. In a way, he put himself on the island. If you look at it not literally, but more as like subtext, like he kind of put himself out there. Does that make sense to you, Dan?
no, that makes absolute sense. Yeah.
Second, might be a surprise, Sleepless in Seattle.
Okay.
That's my second favorite Tom Hanks movie.
Little trick flick, but a good, you know.
I just think it's I just think the story is great. Nora Ephron wrote it, and it's just a great movie.
I think I can guess your number one, but I do want to hear it.
You could probably guess.
I think it's Saving Private Ryan.
No.
Okay.
Big.
Oh my gosh, yes. Big was amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw another one out there, but when I do think about it, I want to say Philadelphia, right?
Philadelphia's good. Denzel, Tom Hanks.
That's
can't beat
more
it.
Denzel being the star, though.
They're both great in it.
Because when they fired him because he had AIDS, they broke the law. That's like stuck in my head for the rest of my life. That was more Denzel.
Yeah. Two great performances. Yeah. No, Big is
Big is pretty. That's pretty good.
Summer
movie.
of '88. '88 had some really good movies.
That could be. I think that's. Did I read like they might be remaking that? I could be making that up, but unbelievable. Tom Hanks is just like I said. The guy from Booze and Buddies goes on to be this just iconic, one of the best ever.
Well, what I like about Big is, you know, the subtext there is, you know, don't be in a rush to grow up.
Yeah.
You got to keep a youthful spirit.
No, I agree. If I was a kid and I knew I had to just grow up and pay bills and work, maybe I would have been like, we can slow down a little bit.
Well, if you didn't keep a youthful spirit, Dan, you wouldn't always have action
That's
figures
true.
out on your table here. I think this is important. I think we're in such a rush to grow up, and you know, that's going to age you. You know.
And what is growing up? That's really the big question there.
What is growing up?
What is it? You know, is it should you let go of things that you enjoy? I don't think so.
The rush to grow up in itself is almost childish, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy though what people think. It's like you got to have the white picket fence and you got to have this and that's what it is.
Sure, you can have goals and you definitely want to aspire for personal growth, emotional maturity. You know, I feel like I'm starting to sound like Danny Tanner at the end of Full House right now. But it's true. It's like you need to keep a youthful spirit. You can grow professionally and take on more responsibility, think less about oneself, and, you know, again, experience that emotional growth, but still stay young at heart. And I think that's important. That's how you have fun.
I totally agree with that. Going to the next one, top 5 TV shows.
Top 5 TV shows. See, I thought you were going to go with top 5 albums first, which was...
I'm curious about that one.
Okay. Can we go there first?
Sure,
Because
yeah.
it falls in line with what I was just mentioning about not being so quick to grow up. I can list off my top 5 albums. You know, if I were to say top 5 albums of all time, like chances are they're going to fall into this sweet spot of like my formative years of like being like 14 to like 19, right? So it'd be so quick. It's so easy for me to be like, oh, my top 5 albums are, you know, Weezer's Blue Album and Pinkerton, Nirvana's Nevermind, you know, A Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory, or any Beastie Boys record. Yeah, I could say those things because that's when I really started listening to and getting into music, right? But if you just listen to the same music that you were into when you kind of just got into it, you're gonna date yourself. Like you're gonna kind of remain there. I think discovering new music just kind of keeps you young. Like if you're just constantly discovering new music, keeping an open mind. So like my top 5 albums, I mean, I just rattled off some of them, but when I think like top 5 albums, it's like, well, what am I listening to lately? You know, what are like my 5 albums I've been listening to for the past couple months? So lately I've been listening to Mom Jean, Sweet Tooth, Weekends, Dawn FM, Beach Bunny, Honeymoon. Those 3 records I've been listening to a lot.
Oh, no. Yeah. See, I also do find for me, though, as I am getting older, I don't even listen to, like, I just listen to radio.
Sure.
You know what I listen to? To be quite frank, I listen to Christian music and country.
Okay.
And then I go back to, like, things, like, on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
But for the majority, like, in my car.
Do you find yourself going back and discovering music that you kind of missed out on? Like the first time around, like maybe you were a little closed-minded, then you go back and you're like, oh, wow, this is actually a really good album.
To be honest, yeah, I always kind of evolved a little bit because, honestly, when I was a kid, though, I do remember when Kurt Cobain was killed.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it because I would watch him on MTV. But I don't think I appreciated Nirvana as much as I do now when I could put that on and be like, oh, wow, he was a goddamn genius.
April 6th, 1994.
Yeah,
I discovered April 8th, 94.
I got on my bike and told everybody in the neighborhood, like, Kurt Cobain died. Like, I couldn't believe it. But, like, I never really, like, just gone all into it because all I knew was, like, you know.
Yeah, Kurt Cobain's the reason why I picked up the guitar. You know, he was a lot of that for a lot of us, you know, so. But yeah, I like going back and sort of discovering bands for the first, like, rediscovering bands for the first time. Does that make any sense?
I used to hate The Offspring. I can listen to Offspring now. I'm like, wow, why did I hate this so much?
Our own Justin Slez is a big Offspring fan.
Yeah, now I'm like, I love Offspring because I was an R&B kid. Mm-hmm. I was that kid that, you know, get made fun of by his friends for having the Mariah Carey album. I was like, I love Mariah. I love R&B. You know what I mean?
I've got Mariah Carey self-titled on vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've got some of my favorite records are R&B hip-hop singer. I mean, R&B, I've been listening a lot to Leon Bridges. I get to see Leon Bridges in New York next week. I listen to a lot of soul. I love Sam Cooke. I got heavily into Janet Jackson's records. I mean, to me, Janet Jackson's talking about trilogies, you know, Control, Rhythm Nation, and self-titled Janet. Those are just 3 great records. And when I was real young, I liked those first 2 Janet Jackson records. When I was in high school, when Janet kind of had this like somewhat of a revival, you know, with that self-titled record, you know, I was too busy listening to like punk rock and hip hop, and to me, like R&B, female R&B singer, I wasn't really interested in it. I went back and I had started listening to that album. It's such a good record. Janet Jackson's Janet.
I loved The Velvet Rope, obviously.
Yes.
I mean, but I was just like, when I was growing up, I loved R&B and rap, and then as I got older, it was Real Big Fish, it was Sublime, it's like things just, you're right, it's a constant evolution.
I had all those records. Yeah. I still do. I've got Turn the Radio Off.
Oh, I can't get enough of it. They came to Plymouth State one year. It was like unbelievable. And then
I saw them May 19th, 1997. Played Lansdowne Street in Boston. Yeah.
And then it involved like Dispatch and OAR. I'm going to see them in a couple weeks, where it's like, it's a constant evolution.
Yeah, I love music. I try to keep a eclectic taste in music. Again, I'm always trying to discover new artists, and because I just to me, it keeps you young. It keeps you relevant. You know, it keeps you relevant.
I mean, I do find myself listening to the radio and saying, I don't get it.
Sure.
Like the newer stuff, I'm like, I don't get it.
I make a point on Fridays. I try to listen to playlists, whether, you know, any given streaming service you could find. I try to go to their new music playlists and I just hit shuffle just to see if something sticks. And that's how I find a lot of new music. I know on an earlier show of yours, you referenced Jay-Z.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that you're a fan. I guess he'd have somewhat of a trilogy too, right? Blueprint, Black Album.
And then he came back with another that I can't
Kingdom
recall.
Come.
Yeah. But I was more Reasonable Doubt was originally, well, no, I would say Blueprint was probably my original. And then I went back and I had to listen to Reasonable Doubt. I go, oh, this is what put him on the map. And then obviously the Black Album was supposed to be his final. Like Hard Knock Life, that album, I forget the name of it, but I wasn't that into it as much as the other stuff. But I do have to ask, because we're getting short on time, and I want to address a few other things.
Sure.
Favorite TV shows?
Favorite TV shows? Sure. Outdoors with Bob, Chatting with Janine, Straight Talk with Bill Souza. We have legacy shows here on Merrimack TV, like Morning Workout, Lion's Tail, rather. You want favorite TV shows that aren't on Merrimack TV?
Yeah, whichever.
Okay.
I mean, Left Frame
okay.
Ring should be.
Well, you said top 5.
Yeah. Oh,
Freedom
yeah, you're
Ring.
right. I'm only in the 100. So, but
Eventually, Dan, you might get up there. But
I'm hoping.
my favorite TV shows, I mean, I love SNL. Like, I'm a lifer with
Yep.
SNL. Love The Office. I mean, who doesn't? Just finished Stranger Things.
I gotta watch
And
that.
just got into Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal on HBO, which I think is absolutely brilliant, and you should watch it.
I'll check it out. I do like no one's ever said SNL, and that is obviously one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah, I am definitely lifelong fan. To me, SNL has never been bad. I love it. I always thought that they were kind of on the cutting edge, and that's one of the reasons why it's like, you know, people complain. Any given era of SNL, someone will complain, say, it's not as good as it used to be. And then like 5-10 years later, they say, that was the best era. It's because it's always ahead.
It's evolving. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've either come to know or fortunate enough to meet different writers and those who have worked on SNL and love the show. It's just great.
All right, now I got to ask, now we got to get into the tough question. I know we're going to address it.
Sure.
My table's been very bare. You have outlawed anything that's not Karate Kid related, which I guess Donatello has no security has like figured that out.
Well, I do want to stress, Dan, that, you know, any resident, any nonprofit group is welcome to come to Merrimack TV, use our facility. We don't tell people they can't do something, can't say something. This was just very specific to your program.
Yeah. Yes. We want to say
And it's
that,
because you and I know each other. So just a disclaimer.
So I think there's something that's going to be rolled here. I don't know if this is the start.
Well, there was an issue. We did have an issue.
That's what I want to address here.
And I feel like as great of a conversation we've had these last 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes, it's been there. There's been some anxiety. I've seen it in your eyes.
I know there's been. I knew there was some tension before that, but I don't know
Just
exactly what it was.
I don't really have any issue with anything anyone has ever said in these studios, even at times when I may have an opposing viewpoint or opinion. It's not my business. We don't censor anyone. If that's just not going to happen here. That's, again, free speech advocate. You did say one thing on your program that it upset me. Justin, can we roll that clip?
I know you said you didn't like the other two Karate Kids. I really did enjoy Karate Kid 2. I own them all. Karate Kid 3 is a piece of trash.
Yeah.
But 1 and 2 I do really like. Oh, man.
Yeah. Trash. Karate Kid 3 is trash, Dan. Dan, I'll tell you this. Karate Kid 3, it is different. I'll give you that. It's different. But to me, it's about Daniel Son's overinflated sense of self. Ego. Dan, the film is about ego. I could see watching Karate Kid 3 and going into that only seeing Danny LaRusso as a champion will lead you to decide, this movie's trash. I think you should rewatch it, Dan. And you should instead view it as a hero feeling conflicted because of ego. Mistakes are made. People were hurt, Dan. People were hurt. Mr. Miyagi taught us something in that movie. And I don't know if you turned it off before it finished. Now, I've certainly watched it several times over. Mr. Miyagi says to use karate to defend honor means something. But using karate to defend plastic trophies means nothing. We could all stand to learn something about each other and ourselves watching Karate Kid 3. Ego Daniel's son.
Well, then I do apologize, and that it all makes sense. That I don't remember that clip.
Well, I do. It was September 3rd, 2020 at approximately 5:52 p.m. that you said that statement. But if you're willing to, if you apologize,
I would like to squash this right here.
Apology accepted.
Okay.
And I thank you for all you do for Merrimack TV and using this resource. And if you are a resident or nonprofit group that serves Merrimack, email merrimackTV@merrimacknh.gov. Reach out to Justin or myself and have a show. If Dan can do it, anyone can.
It can be done. I do want to just ask you a quick couple blank versus blank.
Sure.
Here. Hulk Hogan or Steve Austin?
Hulk Hogan. 100%. I am anxiously awaiting my no-holds-barred action figures from Mattel Creations.
Oh, you ordered those?
I did. And I know there's a lot of people upset because they sold out pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be getting my hands on those, but I'll have to see them. When
Just maybe, I'll bring them in.
I would love
as
to
a
see
peace
those.
offering. We'll display them.
Prince or Michael Jackson?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go Prince. Now, if you asked me this when I was younger, I mean, no question. Thriller, Off the Wall, MJ. Prince, love him. Fantastic guitar player.
I didn't know how good he was until I saw that clip.
Brilliant. I can put on Prince any day of the week. And yeah, love him.
Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey?
Oh, man, another one. We were just talking about Mariah Carey. I mean, Always Be My Baby. I'm going to go Whitney. That was tough. That one was tough. I'm going to go Whitney.
She might have had the more powerful voice there.
I think they're both... I just bought a Whitney Houston t-shirt. I don't think I'd wear a Mariah Carey t-shirt. I'm wearing a Whitney Houston t-shirt.
Would you rather have chips or candy? Or like a salty snack or candy?
Depends on the mood.
Okay.
And salty and sweet, such a good combo.
And sometimes you can have them together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think 9 out of 10 Ben & Jerry's has all of it, you know? 9 out of 10 Ben & Jerry's flavor has them all. So. Salty or... I'm going to go chips. I'm going to go salty.
Okay.
Yeah. Today, who knows? You could ask me
Tomorrow
this
could be,
different.
yeah.
Sure.
Sometimes, I feel the same way. The Ultimate Warrior or the Macho Man Randy Savage?
That's another tough one. I'm going Macho Man Randy Savage.
Just more effort than he...
Just what a voice, man. He's a legend. Fortunately, saw them all live in person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at the Old Garden. I was young, but I'd go Macho Man. Oh yeah.
I go Randy
Can't
Savage.
beat it. Yeah, Randy Savage.
Would you rather watch a movie with Julia Roberts or Demi Moore?
Oh, another tough one. I love Ghost. I discovered Ghost. But Demi Moore.
Ditto. Such a great movie.
I'm gonna go Demi.
Okay. Yeah, I could say both kind of like great at the time.
I love Ghost. The Ghost came out in 1990, a year after Karate Kid 3 did. Ghost is an amazing movie. We don't associate Ghost with 90s films because it was like right on the cusp, you know. But what a great movie. Anyone can watch that movie. It's so good. It's got everything. It's like a thriller. It's a murder mystery. It's a rom-com. It's got, and young Demi, Demi Moore's beautiful. Patrick Swayze's cool as hell. I mean, come on.
It is a great. That's in my collection too.
Yes. I've got it on VHS, Laserdisc, and DVD.
Then you're a fan.
Oh yeah. Again, discovered it much later in life, but I think it's a great movie.
Here's a tough one we ask everybody. Who's more responsible for the success of the New England Patriots over the 20-year span, Belichick or Brady?
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm not a big football guy, so I feel like even answering that question, like someone that follows you, Dan, is just going to give me so much guff. I can't answer that question. I'm not at liberty to answer that question.
So we're skipping it.
I'm going to say those most responsible are the fans because they have convinced themselves that they're the reason why that team won all those rings. I'm going to say, you know who's responsible for all those rings? The fans for believing.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Sure.
We had no choice. I mean, they gave us reasons to believe.
Right.
Hardest question.
Rod Stewart. Reason to believe.
Oh, yes. That's a great song. Toughest one, blank versus blank. Justin or Colin, both working here.
Yeah.
Doing awesome jobs.
I got... Colin is our media assistant. Justin is our media services coordinator. I guess we're wrapping up the show. I got to say, it is such a joy to work for the town of Merrimack. I really appreciate just the kind words that we've received from the community the past couple years as we kind of changed. Our role has evolved, and I'm so grateful for to have this role, and for people assuming I grew up here and I went to high school here, to me that means a lot to me. Like I really do feel like I'm part of this community, and one of the and I know that the sentiment is shared with my staff. To pick one or the other, you know, my mantra as a department head and as the town of Merrimack's media division, I always tell my guys, I say, hey, we're going to share our wins. I'll take our losses. So when it comes to having to choose between Colin and Justin, I'm letting them stay on the boat. I'm jumping over. So I'm taking myself out of that.
All right. No, and they're both awesome. You guys are all awesome.
Thank you very much. They're incredible, as is our volunteers, as is our the residents and nonprofit groups who tape shows here in the studio. So I can't thank you enough, Dan, for continuing to do this. And if you have friends or fans that follow you and they have community TV centers in their town or city, support them. Just check them out, see what's going on. And even if you're just watching, you know, let them know. Let the folks that manage the stations, let them know, hey, thanks for doing this service. You know, it's a job. We're paid. And, but it's usually a minimal staff, and they're putting in a lot of hours and flexible hours too. Flexible hours to get the job done and meet the needs of the community. That's exactly what it is we do here. And we're so honored to serve the residents and nonprofit groups that are here in Merrimack.
All right. Well, Nick, this has been awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was great to do this. I'm glad that we could squash this.
We squashed the beef.
We now know.
You're going to look back at Karate Kid 3. You're going to look at it differently. And then we can, maybe we can chat about it in my office over some coffees or something.
Sounds good to me. But to everybody out there, have a wonderful week. Keep your heads up. I'm glad we did this show, and we're moving on. And until next time, let freedom ring.